Good morning, my good friends. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to my live stream. Welcome, welcome. Let me introduce myself. My name is Andre Lefevre. Andre Lefevre. I am an extreme libertarian, citizen, independent citizen journalist. Love mouthing off on things political, things cultural, things interesting. My website is wildnews.us, wildnews.us. I have a full live stream for us today. I want to talk about the sore loser power mad Democrats. I am not surprised that since their idea has been repudiated at the ballot box on the November 6th, they have escalated their illegal brown shirt-like tactics to gain power. They're power men. Uh, Something that about the Democrats is that they want power at all costs. They want power at all costs. They don't care how they get it, as long as they get it. In let's go over a few things, and then I'll give you some of my thoughts. In Florida, they're doing something actually very simple, very simple. In the let me see which county it was. In the Broward County, what they're doing, they're simply manufacturing absentee votes. This is just that simple. They're just manufacturing absentee votes, and what they're hoping they be able to slip enough of them to send the Florida elections, where Rick Scott won the governorship and Ron DeSantis won the Senate seat, send it into recount. And they're hoping that while recounting, they'll manufacture more votes, pull some more shenanigans, and they will win and they will gain power. Can't say win. They will illegally seize power. In Arizona, where Martha McSally clearly pulled more votes than Kristen Sinema, who is a Democrat. Same exact scenario, just different rules. The Democrats are busy manufacturing absentee votes. They just simply keep on manufacturing absentee votes. And this is not something new. This is exactly what Democrats have been doing pretty much since the Democrat Party came into existence. Democrat Party has never, their ideas have never, and their ideas is pure progressive Nazi combination of Nazi eugenics and Marxist social justice. They come from that leftist tree. They have never enjoyed popular support. So what they have done is when they can't fool the electorate, they simply manufacture votes. Now, true, they won a razor-thin majority in the House of Representatives, but I will challenge you to look into the every individual race, and I'll bet you that majority of individual races for Congress, there have been a lot of illegal shenanigans by the Democrats. What's heartening is that what's absolutely heartening is that Democrats have lost popular support completely, and thanks to the non-corporate controlled reporting, such as my own, and I'm just a small guy, uh, but many others like Gateway Pundit, like Alex Jones and people like him, uh, we are informed about the depravity and illegality of the Democrat operatives. Now, I'm very optimistic about the future. We are guaranteed as patriots a majority in the Senate. I'm going to touch upon what it means a little later on. The fact that Democrats took razor thin control of the, I think it's by 11 votes, the last I saw, of the House, will give us an interesting spectacle of Democrats fighting among each other. They're not unified. They're not unified at all. They have establishment Democrats who simply simply want to rule over us like feudal lords from Washington who are comfortable in their established position. And you have also a radical crew that came in, has been elected, and I'm using elected in quotation marks, who stole most of their elections, who won the Marxist Nazi-style revolution, and who have very little in common in their goals, a little bit in their ideology, but nothing in the methods and goals with the establishment Democrats. And it will be very interesting to see how they're going to fight it out over the power positions in Congress. What is good for us, the Trump people, the Trumpers, the Patriots, is that during this election cycle, we absolutely cleansed the Republican Party from never Trumpers, because a huge number of never Trumpers and rhino Republicans simply resigned from Congress, and of course a lot of those seats were stolen by the Democrats. It is a process. It looks like President Trump has consolidated his power in the Republican Party. Mitch McConnell, whom I'm not a big fan of, actually not a fan at all, is falling right in line with Donald Trump. So do many other people who previously are viewed as our enemies. They simply understood, I think, that the power flow in Washington now comes from Donald Trump. Let's face it, Washington, D.C. is about power. Whoever has the most power or perception of power can garner support of people who may not have supported them in the past. Paul Ryan's Republican Party is dead. Bush family Republican Party is dead. Now it's Donald Trump's Republican Party. And it's up to him to reshape it in a patriotic way. And it's up to us to keep Donald Trump's feet to the fire. We elected him. He is not our leader. He's our employee. And this is something that I have constant discussions with people on our side. Donald Trump is not a personality. We don't have a cult of personality of Donald Trump. We did hire a very charismatic man to run our affairs in Washington. And it's up to us to direct them to do what's good for our country. And so far, I give him an A. I give him an A. He was able, right after the elections, to take control over the Justice Department by firing Jeff Sessions. It remains to be seen how well he progressed, but I think he neutralized the people who were running a soft coup by trying to remove him either by the 25th Amendment or via some trumped-up charges of non-existent Russian collusion. I think that he has neutralized by removing Jeff Sessions. I guess it's a live stream for a different day on why Jeff Sessions was the way he was. But he was obviously a drag on Donald Trump's power in Washington. Before I get into the future agenda, where I see us winning long term, I want to remind all of us that this political process is a street fight. Even though we won, we have been bloodied. And to expect to fight such a ruthless opponent as the Democrat Party and expect that we're going to come out unscathed is simply illogical, because they hit, and they hit hard, and sometimes they do rock us. This is why we lost. That's why they gained the razor-thin majority in the House, because it is a street fight. It's just like, imagine you're duking it out with somebody on the pavement. Maybe first few minutes before you get winded, you can throw picturesque punches and kicks. But after that, it goes to the ground. It turns into grappling, scraping, and it becomes your clothing is torn. You have pavement burns on exposed skin. You get tired, winded. It is not pleasant. But you can't quit. Like any street fight, as soon as you quit, you get killed. Sometimes literally. And in our case, it is literally. I'm not exaggerating. If we let the Democrat authoritarians win, eventually they will put all of us patriots behind barbed wire and exterminate. They're not shy. The professorial elite on the left is not shy about calling for physical extermination of their ideological opponents. This is on which their Marxist ideology is built upon. So they're acting on it as they're doing as they preach. They sent a mob to the Tucker Carlson's home, and if you don't know who Tucker Carlson is, you probably have no business watching my videos on my Periscope. And they tried to break into his home while he was away. I guess he was taping his show. The Antifa mob shouted, "We know where you sleep," and I think they also chanted, "We know where your children sleep," and they banged on his front door trying to break in. It was a true blue terrorist mob, and their express goal was to shut Tucker Carlson up. This is what Cuban Communist Party does. They organize, they pay for the mobs to go to the to the ideological dissidents of communist regime in Cuba. They organize those mobs, and this is straight from the communist playbook. To have artificial so-called outraged citizens, but actually are just operatives, political operatives who organize and create a terrorist threat. It was first used actually by the brown shirts of the Nazi era in Germany. They did exactly that. So that one has actually, I think that actually backfired. Our country is not Nazi Germany of 1920s and 30s, and our country is not Cuba. We have different traditions, and we don't stand for crap like that. So it was universal condemnation, even from the left. Now, let me say about good things that has happened after the elections. I have a feeling that two things will happen in the shenanigans in Florida and in Arizona. I think in Florida, Rick Scott and Ron DeSantis will be victorious. That's my prediction, simply because there's so much attention to it, and simply because Florida Republicans actually know how to fight illegal tactics like that. I'm not that optimistic about Arizona. Arizona is one of those states where Republicans are not very good at fighting underhanded tactics. So I suspect that Kristen Sinema may win, even though it's just my amateur opinion. I'm not a professional. I'm not a professional pundit, and I'm not professional anything. I'm a businessman, and I'm a true citizen journalist. I do this as a hobby. So this is my prediction. But we're still going to have majority in the Senate, which means that Donald Trump can continue appointing judges and appellate judges and Supreme Court justices who believe in the U.S. Constitution, which means that through executive order, he'll be able to control the immigration. Why is that important? Is because Democrats want to replace American citizens with illegals. They already vote them illegally. Look at California. California, where I live, actually, and I'm right now not very far from downtown Los Angeles, has been a solidly Republican state. It was a Western state. Its culture was real similar to that of Arizona. Well, what has happened is that Democrats packed the electorate with illegal immigrants and voted them illegally, and they have flipped the state liberal Democrat. And right now, because of the huge voter fraud in California, where every illegal votes, well, I should say every illegal, but Democrats just know how many illegal votes they need in order to put their candidates over the top. A Republican Party has no chance of winning in California because Republicans do not use those underhanded tactics. So this is the goal of the Democrat, to simply pack our country for people from the third world, right now primarily from Central America, who will, like trained animals, will vote on their cue. I mean, long term, there will be the death of the Democrat Party because these people are going to eat them up. They're not animals; they're human beings, and eventually they will turn on them. And actually, that is happening in California to a certain degree. And I will devote a live stream sometime in the future on California politics because I'm actually very optimistic of what's going on in California. The Democrat Party is not monolithic in California. It's fragmented and fragmenting along the racial lines. But this is the goal of the Democrats. It's a grand strategy since 1960s. Uh, Democrats packed Minnesota with Somali refugees, quote unquote, and pretty much flipped Minnesota into a Democrat column. Not quite 100%, but Minnesota in that political scenario is just a Somali version of Latin American illegal immigration in California. The same exact tactic, except in California, the American citizens were replaced with Mexicans and Central Americans, and in Minnesota, American citizens are being replaced with the Somali refugees, with the Muslim refugees. Laura Loomer has some great reporting on that fact, and I suggest look her reporting up on what is going on in Minnesota. Well, the good news is since Trump and his allies control the Senate, Democrats have no ability from preventing good judges and good justices be appointed, and they will uphold Donald Trump's executive orders to stop the illegal immigration. In the past, Democrats controlled the judiciary. This is no longer the truth. This is actually why they decided to die on the Matt Kavanaugh Hill, and they literally died. They literally died on it. They threw everything they could and then a kitchen sink, and they could not defeat the Patriots from appointing conservative Judge Kavanaugh to the court. And it was practically it was a great victory for us, and symbolically it was a great victory for us because it showed Democrat impotence that we can actually win. And I think Donald Trump will build on that. At least I hope he will. Those caravans that come in from the south, very interesting strategy that the Donald Trump administration is using. They have turned it into a defense issue, so we deployed U.S. troops to the border, and they're planning to build tent cities to house people who come here illegally and start fraudulently claiming asylum status, which is under our screw immigration laws. We can only hold them for 40 days and then we have to release them. Well, they're going to be released into those tent cities, and more immigration judges are being hired. And I got a feeling that majority of the people that come here, that cross the border illegally and fraudulently claim asylum, will be processed fairly quickly and turned back. This is going to be an issue for many, many years to come. It's not going to go away. At least in the next 2 years, I don't see any legislative solution to this because Democrats don't want to solve the problem. They actually want to exacerbate it because they have invited those illegals to come here so they can vote them illegally. So it's up to Donald Trump and us to hold his feet to the fire so he can through executive actions he can stop them. Now, Democrats will find some screwy Democrat judges who will put different injunctions. As long as Trump can appoint appellate judges who interpret the Constitution and don't go with the leftist ideology, they can lift those injunctions and help us keep the invaders from the South out from our country. There are many issues that will have to be decided in court. The next big one that also will have to be decided in court because Congress is going to be paralyzed for the next 2 years is that of the internet censorship, big tech censorship. I am really hoping that Donald Trump will be able to first to negotiate and then force Google, Facebook, and Twitter to stop shadow banning and deplatforming the us, the independent voices, the libertarians and conservatives who don't march in lockstep with the Marxist progressive ideology. I don't think negotiations will work. I think eventually the only thing that will work is antitrust action, where YouTube and parts of Facebook will be spun off and declare the utilities where they are have to be regulated and forced into not discriminating against anybody. I'm a libertarian, an extreme libertarian, and this goes against my core beliefs. But I also believe that sometimes you have to use all the tools in your box in order to solve some political problem. This is a political problem. If we're going to take a rigid ideological stand and say, well, no, keep the government out of everything, they will choke us to death. Right now, that seems to be the tool we have to reach in our political box and use. And after that, find a remedy for that too. Because right now, as it stands right now, Google, Twitter, and Facebook are the only game in town, and they are deplatforming us. Anyways, guys, I appreciate you tuning in. A lot more than I can ever express in words. I am in my office today, and I have to get back to work. I took about 40 minutes to do this live stream, including my prep time. If you, anyways, thank you, and God bless you. God bless you, my good friends. Bye bye.